Oh, man. Oh, the technical boomer issues. Hello, everyone, and welcome back for episode 9 of Ready, Set, Shag. I'm your host, the Shagsworth. Today, I'm joined by some really great people. I was able to track them down after some back and forth. But we got writer, director, producer Jonathan Salemi here. He's a visionary director who has made a notable impact in the world of filmmaking. With a keen eye for storytelling, a distinctive artistic style, Salemi has crafted visually stunning and emotionally resonant films. His unique approach to the directing brings forth compelling performances from actors, creating immersive and thought-provoking cinematic experiences. Known for his versatility, Salemi has successfully navigated various genres from intimate character dramas to thrilling action films, showcasing his ability to captivate the audiences across different narratives. With each project, Salemi continues to push boundaries, leaving a lasting impression through his creativity and passion for storytelling. In addition, we are joined by the lead actor for The Last Deal, Salemi's newest film. Anthony is a highly skilled actor, stuntman, and martial artist known for his exceptional performances in film and television. With a background in various combat sports, he brings authenticity and athleticism to his roles, captivating audiences with his fight scenes and daring stunts. Molinari's extensive filmography includes collaborations with renowned directors and stars, showcasing his versatility and dedication to his craft. So without further ado, I'm going to bring these gentlemen on here. Jonathan and Anthony, thank you so much for giving me your time today. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Likewise.
I appreciate it.
That was an impressive intro.
Yeah.
I don't have the budget that you guys are working with. I do a lot of this stuff myself, but you got to start somewhere. And like I said, I wanted to try and showcase you guys a little bit and encapsulate your careers in a paragraph, which is really hard because you guys have been hardworking for decades now. So, but yeah, I wanted to have you on because, well, I heard of your movie probably a few months ago now, and I was immediately captivated by it because for me, I've been highly critical of Hollywood as of late. And watching your film sort of just brought me back to a nice, like simplistic, like A to B storytelling, great acting, and from some people who I was familiar with, but also introducing some new people to me. So I wanted to have, hopefully had the opportunity to sit down and talk with you guys about sort of where this movie, came from, and then also get into where you guys have been. So I guess really starting with you, Jonathan, like since this is your brainchild, essentially, where did this movie sort of spawn from?
Thank you. So it came from basically me I wasn't getting enough opportunities to direct a feature. So I needed to make something commercial that people would watch. Okay. And so what I did was I made a checklist of all things that I had access to. And that was like marijuana farms. I had a good friend, Carl, who's very in touch with stunt performers, Anthony right there, airplanes, locations. So I knew about Los Angeles. I've been here for over 15 years. So I knew about locations where I could shoot and stuff like that. So I had this checklist and I needed a commercial idea for how to bring that checklist to life. And then around 2019, in October, I watched the old Cassavetes film from the 70s with a gambler, gentleman's club kind of guy. And he gets involved with the wrong people because he's a debt. And I said, hey, I think what I have as far as with the marijuana backdrop can fit in with this story. And the Cassavetes film was done very indie. He's one of the original indie directors. And I was like, hey, I can make that. I just need a good DP and some actors, and we can go off. And so that was the genesis behind it. And then, it just like snowballed really quickly after that.
I did notice too in like the title cards that this is based on a true story. There's a few moments in this movie where I thought like, woof, like, I mean, because it gets graphic at times. So like how I guess how accurate is the, based on a true story? Because I know a lot of creative liberties can be taken sometimes, but I just sort of want to get an idea of where it was real.
So it's on two fronts. One is the safe banking legislation and legalization of cannabis in 2016. So that's totally legit, of these black market dealers not being able to obtain a license and getting squeezed out because now big money's coming in and they're resorting to unconventional means. So that's the first part of the based on true story. The second part is the main character is based off one of my best friends.
No way.
So yeah, I was actually out with him last night. Spivey, Anthony met him, and and he started as a grower and then had a dispensary and couldn't get a license and had run-ins with bad people, and he's now pretty much retired. He's kind of fallen like kind of prophetic, like, or in some ways the ending of our film has now become the ending of what he's doing right now. He's retired and just wants to go back to growing. So
right.
The ending came about. The ending of the movie came about before Spivey, who's the real person, created his ending. But that's kind of what happened. So that's the true story part. That's
really cool. Because that's one of the things I really liked about the movie was the ending was just so like as angsty as like a lot of points in the movie made me, where I was like what's going to happen? Like, is Vince going to come out of this on top? Like, because I don't, I wasn't sure, but seeing where he ends up kind of coming full circle and just seeing, and Anthony, you do such a good job at bringing this out. Like, I think that's something that great actors do, is they make you believe that this is the person, like you generally have a breath of fresh air at the end and you can return to just growing and, to somewhat of a peaceful life, and sort of see how that arc ramps up as you realize in the beginning that things are sort of spiraling out of control, and you see the writing on the wall. And then you finally get to that, even though in the midst like great loss, friends and all that. But, so I want to compliment you on such a great job acting, but I really wanted to, I wanted to kind of pivot to you and ask what, being a career stuntman, like how did you like, was acting something that you always wanted to like sort of get into, and this being the stuntman was your entry to that, or how did that go?
Yeah, thank you. To me, it was something that developed over time. It wasn't something that I ever really had a desire as a kid. It was my long lost dream to go and become an actor. Even as a stuntman, observing the lives of actors, I was like, oh, no way. Yeah. But I think as my career went on and it got more and more successful, my body became more and more beat up. Yeah. I was like, I got to find it out. And ironically enough, like at the time the business was transforming. So it was going from like, hey, stuntmen do the action, actors do the acting. And that's it. The line is drawn. But about 10 years after I got it, they kind of started saying, hey, we want action actors. And we're like, oh, this is not good. Right. So in our sense, one, not a lot of guys can act in the stunt world. So it just made a smaller group of guys. And that's kind of, once I got into that smaller group and that unique trait that other stunt guys didn't have, I started taking a hard look at it and be like, you know what? You've reached this kind of, I feel like there's not much further to go in the career, even though as far as the stunts was. And I looked at this mammoth of a mountain for acting and I was like, oh, wow. Okay. You know what? I'm getting excited about this. And so I think those were the kind of steps that kind of came about, was just me slowly growing to see this opportunity right in front of me. That's really the path that I know I should be going down, because it's going to make me the best person at the end.
Right. Was there a role, or was there a role that you were in that really sort of solidified or maybe created a new passion for acting for you?
I think it definitely, The Fighter is where it cracked. I got a lot of feedback from people. People just came out of the work like, "Hey man, you got something. You got something." I don't want that. They're like, "No, you got it." Like, I don't want it. I don't want to do that acting stuff, man. That's not me. So I fought it for a little while, but I think that was the crack of the light of acting.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, and I was gonna say, like, and that's something after researching you guys more and looking back at your previous roles, I went back and kind of watched a good portion of The Fighter again, and it was a really great, like seeing. I mean, to me, when I look at that scene versus where you are now, like I just see the same like acting chops. And I know you've grown. I'm sure you could say like you've grown, but there was such a depth to that, even in the short time that you're on screen. Like, was there, like, even like when you're on the set of, let's say, of The Fighter, like when you're acting alongside Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale, is that something that you're like, are you like giddy at that moment? Like, or have you been around enough celebrities at that point to?
No, I think, you know what? Thank God I have this ability to kind of just let go of stuff. So there's a few actors out there, but like it's really the director. It was David O. Russell that just put me in a frame of mind, and Jonathan was great at it too, in his own special way, very different, uniquely different. But like, as a director, finding this motivation, these ways to trip up your actors to get them like out of their head and into the moment. And I think that was what he was great at. Both of them had this exceptional ability to like guide you to, not even guide you, trip you, fool you, or even like use his methods to kind of get you into a space of like being present right now. Is what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Jonathan, back to you. I wanted to, kind of in circling back to the last deal, was there like, especially since that film has sort of gotten a lot of people's attention. Was there like an intended message that you're trying to convey through that project? And why was that message particularly important to you?
I didn't really have like a message that I was trying to put out there with it. Like that's like front and center for me. The movie was more themed on where I was in life at that time. So like I was saying before, I wasn't getting the opportunities to direct. I didn't know if I was going to get any more from here. So it was my last deal. And so I put myself in that place of this character who's just so behind and like he's behind the eight ball and just has to do everything possible to come out. So that for me was the kind of theme and that anxiety, which Anthony did a great job showing with the main character. That anxiety was what carried the film forward. So that for me was the message.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly, and I think that's one of those messages that I think a lot of people miss out on, is that sort of last ditch effort, putting everything you have into something, especially when you've been successful at it for so long. And then, I mean, and even if you want to dig even deeper into like, government taking control of certain aspects of industry, like you could say like that even can ruin things and put.
Yeah, being squeezed out,
Right. No, exactly. There was a question that came through on a super chat. John, the next season, the Sox going to bring it home.
If they make trades and are successful in the winter meetings, but they've proven nothing that they want to win. I don't see it. Anthony may have a different take, but the Oakland A's had a game a couple of days ago, and the whole fan base started chanting "Sell the team." I think.
Oh wow!
I think the Red Sox should do the same thing. It's don't get me started. It's a disgrace.
This may be a stupid question, but are you guys both diehard Sox fans?
Boston by default. I mean, it's like, yeah, the only other fan I ever once was when I was a little kid was a Chicago Bears fan. That was because of Walter Payton. But once they didn't give him the ball on the one, that was it. I was done being
Advertised.
Well, it's funny. We established before the show that all of us are from New England. So I come from Connecticut, but I got a lot of crap growing up because I was a Yankees fan. So Connecticut's a weird state because it's like a 50-50 divide. Is like you have Yankee fans and you have Boston fans, and most of my friends were Boston fans, so I had to hear about it all the time. And in 2003, when that postseason was going on, like it was a madhouse around my town. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah.
There's actually a question for both of you. You guys take however much time you want, but there's is there a genre of film that you guys haven't dabbled in yet that you are like you really want to get into or at least want to try? Let's start with Jonathan.
I'd like to try a horror. It kind of hits the same beats as an action film. You have suspense and action and killings, which I kind of like.
Yep. Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because just yesterday I had this like, I definitely want to do an action comedy. Like I was just talking to some producer about it and just like, hey, it's that duo, that really cool duo of like the old like Abbott and Costello, you know what I mean? Like Jerry Lewis, where there's one like goofy guy and one serious guy, like the Rock and Kevin Hart. So like these like, I mean, like Eddie Murphy, Nick Nolte. So like I'm looking to find a partner that's hilariously goofy funny and kind of maybe come up with something along those lines right now.
Okay.
It's funny because that could be you. like you could play either of those characters. You could play the serious one or the funny one. Anthony's an amazing actor. Like he and he's so grounded, which I think makes him so funny. It's so truthful. I'm not sure if you saw Barry. He was in last season's Barry. It's
I saw the clip. I haven't watched that show. It's one that that people have told me like I should check out. So it's one that, and when I saw your clip, I was like, oh, okay, I will definitely check this show out for sure.
Yeah, it's funny because like it started off with just like an audition. I remember I just started wearing glasses, so it was my first glasses audition, and I booked it, and I was like, oh, this is great. And I made a conscious effort to make the glasses a part of the character, and then like that little tiny role, you put on I took a little risk, and he saw it, and he was like, I love that. He goes, and then he brings me back for a third time. He was just like, it's funny how if somebody likes you in this business, they will find a way to work you into their system. Yeah. And like, I think that's kind of really what I attribute most of my success to, is just being likable. And I mean, like, just leaving the place a little bit better off than the way you found it. And, and it's just like, it's amazing how that attitude can take you so far, not probably just in this business, but in life, as opposed to like being the most talented person in the entire world, but you're just a heel to hang out with.
Right. learning to just like have fun in the moment, not take things too seriously, because like life is short. So just enjoy it. We're on a movie set.
I mean, if you look at the perspective of it, right? Mm-hmm. We're like, we're a speck in this massive space of universes. And we're even a speck on this globe, which is a speck in the whole, and then we worry about getting rejected or not even from an audition or driving a nice car or not putting almond milk into our cappuccino, whatever. I mean, it's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like, come on, put this perspective into this, man. We're here for maybe 80 years. Like, let it go.
Oh, I have an existential crisis about once a week. I'm a new dad, so I have a 6-year-old now and a 4-year-old. And it's all new to me. It's like, I've had many great discussions about this, but finally realizing that my parents were just in the same exact position I was, not knowing what they're doing, and then the blame that I put on them, like I've long forgiven myself and my parents for how I acted and how everything went, but like as you learn as a parent, you start to really uncover like, this is a trial by fire. And then once you get through that fire, it's another fire, and it's wild. So, but no, you're right.
You just pray for those fires to come, because the more fires come, the more you figure it out, and the stronger you are after you fight that fire and put it out.
Yep.
Right? So it's a constant. Having children is like, to me, is the greatest transformational gift I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like I've literally said no to more projects since I've had kids than I ever did my entire career, and that was because they're still kids. and I've learned so much from the power of no too, and that's just out of respect for yourself.
I actually just saw it was a clip from an interview where the actor sitter got the round table there. I don't even remember. I just always see those clips, but it was Michael Keaton talking about how he was like, after my kids were born, he's like, I just, I kind of stopped acting because you just don't get those moments back. And he's like, and you say no, but like something will come along down the road and you'll either do it or you won't. And it was the only way you understand that is like when you're a parent or you have someone that you're like taking care of and raising. Like like, can you agree? Like
100%, like 100%. And it's to me, it's going to make your life so much easier if you put the time, if you're working smart, not hard. Like if I just went to work and worked hard and didn't worry about the kids, that's not smart, because those kids are going to be a pain in my butt down the road.
Right.
Unless I put the time in now. If I just put these good 6-7 years in right here, the first 7-8 years of their life,
yep,
I really show up for them as a dad, boom, the next 50 years, I've set myself up to win.
Easy.
Not having to worry about I feel like I've really set them up to win, and myself. Yeah.
No, it's cool. Mr. Grant Gregory put in here too, and I did get a chance to watch this. He said action comedy like your AT&T commercial. That was real, and like that's one of those things, it's the range. It was fun. It like not over the top action, obviously, but you're blending that stunt and then your ability to be funny, even through a 45-second spot.
Yeah, it was, and the what was it? Maybe the 5th stair fall, I cracked my head open, so I had to do the rest of the commercial with like super glue and stuff, because I was the spokesperson. I wasn't the guy, but that was probably the epitome of my stunt career, where like ice packs on my head and my knees, soaking it in Epsom salt bath the night before I go to do 11 car hits and like 7 falls through a ceiling. It was just like that one where I was like, you need to figure out a different career, man. But I was on the path. It was right there in front of me. I was acting, and I was pulling it off. So yeah, thanks.
Slam dunked, man. No, that was great. Because as I'm preparing for all this, my good friend, actually Mr. Grant Gregory there, he was like, hey, have you seen this? Like, this is a great clip. And after I watched it, I was like, I remember seeing that commercial, like that was, and now getting a chance to talk to the guy who was doing it is it's like a dream. But because I watching that and seeing you get hit by a car. So it's like 11 takes. You're getting hit by a car 11 times.
Yeah, I think we had 8 windshields, and they were like, please try not to break it. But the director was like, it's interesting. Jonathan, I didn't think had to deal with as much, which was amazing. But like Jonathan, the way he was directing, this particular director was shooting them all in oneers. He goes, I want everything in a oneer because I have no control in the editing room. As soon as I give this over, it's out of my hands. So I want them to have limited liberties on how to edit. And where Jonathan had all the liberties in the world, which was just I don't know if it's a rarity, but sometimes I find it to be a gift as a director, like he did in The Last Deal, was to have complete creative control. That was just, to know that John had complete creative control and it come out the way it did was just really super impressive. Like really beyond impressive. Watching him and how many traits he has and understands so many departments, it was like very inspiring. But the same thing with that particular director, he shot it all in oneers because he knew he was limited.
Yeah.
And it was I like got away with a couple that I didn't break, but the director was like, hey, I just want you to hit it, roll over it. I want you to slide off the back of it like you're sliding home and home plate, and you do like a stand up right after it. And I'm like, this is a car hit, right? Like spinning in the air. Yeah, okay. But yeah, it worked
Wasn't
out.
your intro into that? You flew through a window, like a woman was watching TV, and then you crashed through the window or something?
Yeah, she's vacuuming. That was after I cracked my head open. Yeah, it was cool.
Man.
We used an apple box so I could get up a little bit higher. But like even those glass, that tempered glass, like when you land on that stuff, it's landing on a bed of glass. So you just literally like plucking little pieces of glass out of here.
Oh, do they what do they use for like when it comes to glass? Is there like what is the prop glass? Because you're not going through like real glass because that would be dangerous.
No, you are well, okay. So you are in that. So like the way, okay. So you got to kind of trade off, right? There's the candy glass that breaks in big pieces. You know what I mean? And like it doesn't look like modern glass. It looks like old house glass because that's how they used to make it until everything became tempered, which just turns into like thousands of little pieces of glass. And so we usually, so what we'll do is we'll have a popper, like somebody will pop it, your special effects guy will hit the hammer, the poppers on the corners, and it'll hit the door. And as that shatters, you jump through it. So you're not hitting the glass, you're going through kind of shattered glass ideally. But again,
still
that's
landing on
the beautiful part of it. It's the landing that like always gets me, man. It always gets me. Yeah.
Was there any moments on the set of The Last Deal that you like hurt yourself or like close calls where you're like, oof, like gotta be careful?
Jonathan?
I don't think so. Like, I think the most dangerous thing you did was jumping over the fence, right? I don't know.
Was that jump? Oh, the jump over the fence. Yeah. That one actually was.
Which I was kind of scared of. I was like, don't break an ankle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that. No, I was thinking about more of the emotions of Mama's Ranch. I think that might have been the most dangerous part of our whole thing was maybe the drive home from Mama's Ranch.
Oh, yeah.
We were beating ourselves up so bad because we thought it went so terribly wrong when it actually turned out to be so terribly good.
What did you think went wrong with that?
He's talking about the ranch scene and just a little background. It was the only day that I think we did overtime, right? Like
yeah, I think
there were like a lot of overtime. Like,
yeah, it wasn't a lot. I think it was
like 16 hours, I think, or something like that. 16, maybe 16 and a half. And so we were out in Mojave, which is about an hour and a half from LA. And yeah, and drive home. So ridiculous.
I mean, it's like building a house, you know what I mean? Making a movie. And like sometimes like it just doesn't go smooth. Like the inspector cancels his inspection and you're just like, oh my God, this is terrible. And we thought that. And then lo and behold, they end up being some of the best gems of the movie.
Yeah. Like we were certain, at least I was, that I was going to have to do pickups, like go all the way back, pick some stuff up. It wasn't going to work. There was dialogue that wasn't working, so we had to rewrite it on set. But yeah, it all came together and it worked. And I think I was more surprised than anyone that it worked.
It seemed like that. What I liked about this movie is most of the scenes, like just everything sort of progressed it forward, right? There didn't really seem like a lot of dead time in the movie. Like where I feel like there's, whether you're giving out exposition or whatever, or you move to other characters, like things sometimes kind of stall out and you feel like, oh, we're still here. But everything moved Vince forward in his journey. And I actually liked that ranch, like the whole ranch scene really, really well, because it was like he was tempted with something. He was thinking about, there's so much going on in his head regarding his relationship. And then to be tempted by, I don't remember her name, but like to be tempted by her, and he kind of looks at her and is like, no, like, and then kind of, because I was, again, I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, is he going to do it? Like, is he going to give in to this temptation here? And he didn't. And when that happened, I just thought, ooh, like, okay, good. Like, this is a man with principles, and that's, again, it speaks to your writing. Is there a part of this movie that you wish you would have expanded a little more on, like in maybe a different in a particular set piece, or even like narratively?
No, the only, and Anthony and myself talked about it, the only thing just from like a writing perspective, if I could like do something again or something like that, I think I would probably, like, I have the high energy opening, and then but there's a span of like maybe 10 minutes that I wish I had another scene of tension or suspense or action. And I think just that's the one like story beat that I look back on. It's not like I wish I put it there. It's just something you learn as you go. But if I could put something like that in the first 15 minutes, like maybe around the 10-minute mark, let's say, or 12, that's probably the only thing that if I could like fix, I probably would.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you did an amazing job with like, and this is where he's amazing when it comes to, like, just take something, make it better. He took a scene that was maybe like, I don't know, 12 minutes, and he brought it back up to the front of the movie, which really gave you the balance you needed, what we were talking about, which was like that slight edge or that actionness, and I mean that excitement, and it worked out. I mean, what a difference. I mean, who would have thought it would have been that big of a difference, Jonathan? Really well done.
Yeah, and we're fortunate in that sense that I only had to move one scene. So like sometimes you may have to move multiple scenes or cut scenes completely. I don't think there was any scene that we cut completely, right? Was there anything?
Just the guy in the... No, we actually ended up using that footage, didn't you?
Yeah, we recycled. Yeah, I recycled as much footage as I could. So in the very beginning of the film, when we have the monologue, Anthony's paying off a cannabis inspector, Clark Moore, who's a great actor. He was in Yellowstone. He played one of the lead Canadian Mountie when they're trying to go over the river and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and he's got he went from this pretty decent sized scene to just being no dialogue, handing over or accepting cash. And so I had to reshoot that scene because we just sometimes you're over ambitious with a project like this. You're trying to squeeze so many locations in a day or so many pages in a day, and we did great. That was from our first day. Clark ended up what his original role was the cannabis inspector played by James Logan in downtown LA, where we see downtown LA in the background. Yep. And Anthony's paying him off. He's like, hey, I don't want to pay any more inspectors. So Clark had that originally, and we had to reshoot that just because I didn't like the location and all that stuff. But I recycled his footage and put it in the beginning and then tweaked the dialogue and the voiceover to include it. So and I did that several times, I think, like recycled footage that I put somewhere else just to make everything look bigger.
The wardrobe failure. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And then you recycled that too. You ended up using that. I mean, it was so impressive. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can make a mistake and get pissed off and say, no, but what Jonathan was so great at was like accepting that this mistake is a gift. How else can I use it? Let's use this mistake to my advantage. So he would use some of these like hiccups that we had or that wouldn't quite fit well into the story and find another home for them. That was, very impressed.
There was a line right in the beginning that I didn't catch until I think it was the third time I went through it. The third time I watched it was more of like, it was a quick refresher last night, but I caught it. And the line was, you could fit a small body in one of these barrels. And I thought, was that intentional? Because that's where the guy is, like, he's in, like, so that's right in the beginning where he's like getting or paying for a bunch of weed in the beginning. And then he gets ripped off later on with a guy inside the barrel. Was that intentional to put that line there?
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When I heard it, I was like, oh, that's clever. Cause I love when writers or directors do stuff like that, like those little Easter eggs. Cause I like to write, I do some fiction, and I actually adapted one of my short stories to 2 episodes of a TV show. I don't know what I plan on doing with it, but like, I like to try and fit those things where I can, where it's like, it might be something that happens later that just gets kind of hinted at in the beginning. Was there, and I was trying to find other instances of that, but I just wanted to commend you. That was very clever and really cool. So
yeah, I wish I could take the credit in the sense that you perceived it. But I think the benefit of being a writer director is I can fix a lot of mistakes. I'm doing both those jobs. So like you'll end up in post, you'll see something that may not be working. In this sense, like I had to fix a lot of the van. So we have the scene in the movie where they break into the van. We see the playback on the closed caption monitors or whatever. And I didn't think it was coming across of where this person was in the van. So I did a little bit of ADR there, which was seamless. And then in the beginning, I was like, oh, it might be fun to throw that line in there too, just to give a little hint.
Yeah.
So it wasn't in the original screenplay, but yeah, I think those are some of the fun things, like when you direct it, if you wrote it, or you can probably just do it as a director itself, like just throw those little fun things in there.
Yeah. There was a question, Mr. Grant Gregory's big helpful supporter, but he wanted to know, what's the most new exciting piece of filmmaking technology you're looking forward to using in a future project? I know like AI is a big thing. I don't know how much that affects filmmaking, but is there anything like that you're looking to use in the future?
The thing I'm most looking forward to doing, which I've told Anthony, is I want to blow something up. So it's not new technology, but I think it'd be fun. I really want to, at some point in my career, have that Mel Gibson, Danny Glover walking away from a house that blows up behind you.
Nice.
Okay.
And like do it like back in the day that they did it, where like there's pieces of shit falling from the sky and stuff, you know, like yeah. Anthony can probably expand upon this more, but the rules with his department there have changed so much over the years for how close the actual actors can be to these things blowing up, and at what point is it that you can't have the actor there, you got to put the stunt person there. But yeah, I'd love to do some of that Lethal Weapon Shane Black stuff.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just the opposite. I want to go in the opposite direction of technology. And everyone's running that way for like AI and the digital and this new, like, I guess, avatar kind of way of shooting. But like, I want to go that way. Like, I want to go back to like try to do everything old school. Like he's like, let's do it for real. Let's get back to the old ways of like lighting it and shooting it and developing it, and kind of like see how that holds up still these days. But again, it's the project, it's the story that you kind of want to base that around a lot too. Right. But in my gut, that's the first thing I think of.
No, I totally understand. And I think a lot of people like myself, we look at some of the modern movies and, you know, wish for a return to like a better blend, I guess, of practical effects and special effects, because like, I mean, well, in your guys' film, like you had, I mean, without spoiling, there's that one pretty gruesome scene by, you know, in the culvert there. And like, there's obviously like those special effects that you use don't necessarily take away from the scene. Cause I think the gravitas of that scene with Vince and him is pretty big. Like, so I think you're concentrating more on like, oh my God, like this is real now. Like, but sometimes you have to do that because of budget constraints or whatever. But no, I love seeing like real things flying everywhere, or, you know, those behind the scenes documentaries of, you know, like when they did The Matrix, where they're all the pillars and getting blown up, and, you know, like it's more visceral, more real for the audience. And, you know, our eyes can sort of detect those things.
Absolutely.
You know, so a little bit off, you know, it kind of takes you out for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Anthony's worked with Christopher Nolan twice now, and he's very practical. Like I think like if you watch Oppenheimer, he was talking about the explosion. I think they did that practically, something like that, like some piece of that. But yeah, like the technology's there. Like VFX is amazing right now, like the stuff you can do. But again, it's a tool, and I think to your point, like if you can combine the practical with the VFX. Like I know in The Dark Knight, there was a scene where a truck flips over. I don't know, did you work that, Anthony? But the truck that flips over, like I think they blow up something in the road and it comes over. That's a real truck that they had flip over on a street. Jesus Christ! Like to be on that set, like that's incredible.
Yeah. Those Michael Bay movies, a lot of those guys, like when you can have the budget to do it, yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's pretty scary too as a performer out there, because some guys, just run their ship a little bit different than other guys. And some you feel much safer, and others you're like, my head has to be on a swivel at all times. Like I got to watch out, because there's going to be stuff flying everywhere. And yeah, it's like anything else. It's not exactly dead on all the time. And working with those departments are important. And I think you guys both make the best point. To me, that's exactly what it is. It's those brush strokes, those very fine blended brush strokes of the special effects going into reality to enhance it, to play with it, but to the point where it's not too much.
Yeah. No, when I was just out of high school, like 20 years ago now. It's weird. I feel like I haven't aged at all, but I'm realizing now I'm getting older. But like right out of high school, I was working on a commercial with this group. They're trying to come up with a testimonial, or not testimonial, like, so they were trying to build these apartments near, like, in my hometown, and we're in a very historical town. So they're basically creating a video that was like, we don't want this here. It was kind of funny. And one of the things they did was they pushed this old truck over a cliff. Like, we went to a quarry, you have these stunt guys, or these effects guys, like, totally stripped this truck out. They got we light it on fire. We got to push it over the hill, but we can't move. It really showed me like what goes into even a 45-second spot. Like, it was 2 days worth of work that we were out there. It was freezing cold, and then you got the actor that's standing out there doing 30, 40 takes of this, 2 or 3 lines. And of course, I'm the guy who's like running and getting stuff, and then, I helped push the truck, which was cool. But, we have one shot, we have one truck they painted. And like, if someone went past this line, it would have ruined the whole thing. Have you ever been on a set that just like someone totally bombed a stunt and like ruined like a particular stunt or effect?
Oh, I'm sure I did at some point. I'm sure I did at some point. It happens all the time. I mean, like, these guys like crashing into like where you're not supposed to. I mean, it's kind of part of the equation. But ideally, you're dialing this in prior to going and shooting it on set. And that's what you don't remember too. Like, there's a lot of rehearsal that goes into this. You know what I mean? Right. So like, all the rehearsing, all that. Like, when in the scene of Barry, there's a really simple scene. I don't know. These guys just disappear into like asylum, and it's like they go into this little corn thing, and it's like wow. And it's not very super action dramatic, but the guy that I know who coordinated it said that it's one of the most. It is like the hardest stunt he's ever coordinated, and I'm like, oh my god, like, you've done insane stuff. He goes, building this, the physics to it, the mechanics to it, the safety, everything. Like, he goes, you're looking at, they spent millions of dollars on just building this on the studio, just to have this one crazy idea that pops out of Bill's head and goes on paper. It's crazy. But yeah, there's been times where guys have messed stuff up, but for the most part, a lot goes into it. So hopefully those mess ups typically end up being prior to shoot day. But it happens.
Yeah, it's wild. You guys are like, stunt people and the effects people are like magicians, like taking something and, like, I can't even fathom like how to, like, I know there's ways to fall, obviously fall down stairs, but like, that is just wild to me that you fall downstairs 11 times. I mean, you cracked your head open once, but like, some people can't even not crack their head open once from, you go downstairs one time.
And there's falls and there's wrecks, and that separates guys too. And as a coordinator, as a director, as a casting, you're casting them based off of like what what they're good at. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, it's the best job ever. I mean, it's the coolest group of guys. We go in, we wreck the set, everyone claps for us. We leave, and we don't have to clean up the mess, and we get paid for it. We're like, this is amazing. I mean, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this. So, I mean, to me, it's one of the best departments on set as far as I'm concerned. I'm so proud to be a stunt guy. You know what I mean? I mean, I love this art of acting and this pursuit of this career. But like, yeah, that'll always be my roots and my foundation is stunts.
Okay. I'm interested. I kind of like at the last minute sort of thought of this, but is there like a movie, probably a movie for you, Jonathan, and like a performance for you, Anthony, that you think of when you're trying to elevate yourself to like the next level? Like, people like will hype themselves up. It might be something that they did, or maybe you're thinking of a role that someone else did, and you're like, that's what I'm going for. Like, is there something that you're going for, Anthony?
Oh, me. Yeah. So the first thing that comes to my mind is Anthony Hopkins. Like anything he does, you know what I mean? It's so brilliant. And like recently, I watching Jason Bateman so quietly just kill it. And like in Air, I watched him, and it's like it's so subtle and so beautiful, and like it's just so unseen in a way. Like you talk about that magician, that magic show. But for me, it's usually always the project that I'm working on right now, and I'm currently working on one. I love this character, but I guess when I think about a time or more of a preparation for inspiration was Everything Everywhere All at Once. I played this cop, and like right prior to that, I went to like this beautiful spot up in Big Sur called Esalen. I was actually in the middle of it. I left the workshop just for a day just to go shoot it, and then I ran right back up to Big Sur. But I was in this beautiful place of transformation, and I love my performance on that. So that has taught me to like, hey, practice the art of like taking care of yourself, loving yourself, and you're going to get a much better performance out of yourself.
Nice. I like that. Jonathan, what about you?
I think for me, it's more of there's like a mixing bowl of filmmakers that I'm always like inspired by, and it's like the Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns, like the 40s, 50s noirs, and then like Christopher Nolan being one right now. Like I think for me, it's like looking at those and like the different qualities that those present. Like the westerns have like comedy but action, really good stories, and a lot of the Eastwood stuff really like I like the way Eastwood is always portrayed in films. Like so it's like that kind of like overlooking thing that I think I'm always like thinking of.
Okay. Yeah, it's I always think of I love watching movies like and following directors too. One being Nolan. I always love his films. I just like Inception is just one of my favorite like narrative tales. Like I could watch that movie 1,000 times, and I know people give me crap for it, and they're like, "Oh, it's so convoluted."
No
And I'm
way.
like, really? Like, yeah. And I know people like
Yeah.
it, but I just think it's one of DiCaprio's like best roles. Like I think he just nailed it. What's that?
Oh, Inception. I was thinking of Interstellar, which I have in my wall over here.
Well, that one too. That one too. Like
Right,
McConaughey
sorry.
is another one who like absolutely nails that. And I think the story there with the father-daughter relationship really hit me harder once I became a dad. Like that story becomes so much more emotional when you realize like imagine if you left your kid like to save humanity, but like the next time you saw them, you wouldn't even recognize them. Like it's like giving me the chills right now. Like but that sort of like layered storytelling that he does is great. And Darren Aronofsky is another one who I really like, who's like just like his from Pi all the way through. Like the Fountain is actually one of my favorite movies by him, and I know people don't particularly like that, but again, the layered storytelling of that and sort of how you can take it, and it's just like multidimensional, and you can sort of make it whatever you want. And it's probably a story that was really hard to tell in the time that he did it, like the time, the runtime that he did. But no, I love following people and seeing how they sort of develop through their career, and especially directors. I think I think you learn a lot. Like you said, there's things you sort of learn on the fly while you're making a movie. And these guys obviously have learned from their mistakes along the way. The one Aronofsky film I haven't seen yet is The Whale, and I know I need to see that. It's on my list.
Yeah.
But
the interesting thing about the three films you mentioned there is the soundtracks. Music to all three. Like The Fountain is like so heavy, like soundtrack driven, and Inception, Interstellar. Like I think there's something there with storytelling and not needing a lot of dialogue.
Oh yeah, it's something that so when I sit down and I'm like trying to pump out 2,000 words like for my story, I put music on, but I usually I'll put on a mix for like Hans Zimmer or John Williams or something like that, just so I can sort of get myself in that like theatrical mood. Like how would these words move like on screen, or how do I see these, like, and I put it to the backdrop of that a lot of times. I don't know if that's good or bad. Because it sort of manipulates my emotions a bit, but I've certainly thought that the musical score is something that's really underappreciated with movies a lot of times. And I know, like Hans Zimmer and John Williams, they're world renowned. Everyone knows who they are, but it carries a lot of weight. It carries a lot of moods, and like you said, in all those movies, it really, I think, helped carry the emotional weight behind some of the moments. And even in your film, Jonathan, like the music in that was really, really good. And again, I'm not sure what your budget was, but like, it was, right. It's a small budget, right? It's very small, but you wouldn't know it.
It was a little more than that, but yeah.
But it was pretty much your money, like the money you had and the very little money that we had. And like, I mean, yeah, it was.
Yeah, the licenses and stuff like that were very minimal. Like we actually, I'm falsifying too much. We did have a budget, but still, like, you're talking like less than $7,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a small budget, like,
yeah. including the composer. So composer plus licensing all the music. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was one of the first things that stuck out to me, because when I watch a movie, it's not even something I'm particularly looking for, but like subconsciously, I'm always picking up on those musical tones, because it always carries weight for me. And it really did, especially in sort of the final, like in the crescendo of the whole movie. Like I felt like, again, it felt connected, and that's the music, Anthony, that's your acting, all of that stuff, like sort of pulled it together into a really, like, the whole movie was an emotional roller coaster for me. And it's something that I've told many people about since I've watched it, and to be here with you guys and be able to chat with you about it and everything is, again, it's sort of a dream come true. And I thank you for your time, of course.
Thanks.
Yeah. I did have just a couple more questions for you guys. I know you were winding down here, but Jonathan, as a director, what is your philosophy when it comes to working with actors and getting the best performances out of them? And sort of how do you create a collaborative and supportive environment on set to bring out the authenticity and emotional depth of the characters?
I think it comes to trust, like trusting them. I trusted Anthony. Like, we're talking a lot before we start. So there's a lot of preparation there, and trust the preparation, trust where you both are coming from. I don't rehearse. Like, there's rehearsals on set, but not prior to the shoot day. And then just letting them go. Like, I don't direct the first performance. Like, so the first time Anthony's on screen or we're shooting, I don't give him anything. And I don't do that for probably a few takes, or maybe even a few points of coverage. I kind of want to see what do you have, because I think you have that one moment where your actor is bringing everything that they know and want to play with, and to put a governor on that, I think, can really hurt you. But then I think the director's job comes in to keep it, like, within the lines of the film and where it should go, and like, just tap it this way or tap it that way, and like, hey, I'm looking to make it look like this, and then just creating a very safe environment. You want them to always feel very safe, that they can explore, because we're dealing with people watching a movie, and it's hyper reality that you're seeing faces so close up that you want to see their lip quiver or their eye twitch or something like that. And you're not going to get that by over directing somebody. You want them to be their true self, and then adapting to what your actor is giving you, so that's kind of the way I come from. And then I stay by the monitor all the time, and I'm right by the camera. And if it looks real to me, then I know it'll be real when we cut it together.
Okay. Anthony, can you confirm everything he said?
Half of it.
I'm just there for the ride.
Nice. I think that's brilliant. I think it's something I've learned about, like, being in positions of management. Obviously, I've never made a movie or anything, but film is actually a place that I wanted to start. I was going to film school originally, just like at a smaller private school in New Jersey. And I really thought that's what I wanted to do. And, after listening to some of the professors and like what like actually shooting and directing a movie took, I was like, I took the coward's way out. I was like, that's not for me. But what I realized was that that writing was the side that I wanted to be on. If I ever wanted to get into Hollywood or anything, was I want to write the stories that people like you, Anthony, can act out, or Jonathan could properly direct. It's like I always have good vision of. I think I have good vision of story and character, and so I'm working on one right now that I hope to maybe someday like push around and shop around. But I'm the passion behind what I do is like I just want to tell a good story that people can timelessly connect with and not feel like, oh, I can only watch this now and I can never watch it 10 years from now. It wouldn't be relevant anymore. No, it's so that's like seeing your story, like seeing the different threads that you were tying through it, Jonathan, being the very last deal, putting everything you have into it, was really cool.
Thank you.
One more question for you, Anthony. I said, so you've acted in a lot of films. Like, what was it like going from being a young kid in Worcester to being a lead actor and, being in Hollywood?
Mind blowing. I don't know. I don't even know how to, surreal. Like, it's weird. You know what? It's like, it's funny. It's as surreal and as perfect as it should be, because like, what you said it best earlier, just a few minutes, like passionate. You're passionate about right, and like that's kind of where I feel like I've allowed myself to accept those feelings of passion in my life, where I've not really thought too hard and I just went. So I was passionate about like playing sports, so I went to a college and I played sports at a level where knew I could play. And then I was passionate about teaching, so I went and I taught preschool for 10 years. And then I was passionate about stunts, so I went and did stunts for 15 years. Now I'm passionate about acting. I've been doing that for like the last 10 years. So I'm just open to life and inviting like and listening to those signs of what I'm passionate about. And no matter where I am, pivoting on a dime. I mean, give it a shot. You never know. And I think that's how I ended up here, was just kind of being fluid like that.
That's cool. Mr. Grant Gregory, the question earlier, it was just what's easier, fourth grade teacher or getting hit by a car?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was just saying, like getting hit by a car all day long. Now, how many hits by that car? Who's shooting this? Clint Eastwood?
Right.
Fincher? Because if it's Eastwood all day long, Fincher, nah, I don't know. Now we have a run for his money.
And just because it's cliche, and I feel like it just needs to be asked. In your guys, like for you guys, what is the best movie of all time? Like when you sit down and you think this is the movie I can watch 1,000 times, hands down. What are you popping in?
I like the first. I mean, I don't try to think too much. And Cinema Paradiso is the first thing that popped into my head.
Okay.
But like I love Forrest Gump. But yeah, Cinema Paradiso. I feel like that was one of the movies when I was a kid, and I haven't watched it in a while. But like I think about what impacted me the most. I mean, what really resonated in my heart, and like a movie like that and Forrest Gump's and those times in my life were probably, yeah.
For sure. Cool. Jonathan, what about you?
It's such a tough choice, but if you're looking at like, for me, what I think is the greatest movie of all time, I probably would say Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Just you got a director that wrote it, and the way they made that story back then, you didn't see anything like that back then, and it holds up. So there's that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, for me, just because I feel it's important to share, for a long time, mine was The Shawshank Redemption. And then as I started delving more into film, I changed it to 12 Angry Men.
Okay.
12 Angry Men, I think, is one of the best films of all time. Just like from every point of view, almost like how it was shot, dialogue, the casting. It was just brilliant. And if I could be in a time machine and go back and just like hang out on that set, that's what I would do for the day to learn. Like so awesome. And all in black and white too. So it's just has everything for me.
The black and white, the one we're shooting right now, it's called he's basing it off of The Last Picture Show.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
I never saw this before until like just this past 2 weeks. I am like blown away.
Yeah.
Like, just blown away with the stardom and like the way they shot it, the timing, where they were at that time. It's just,
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. I love the lion monologue where he's at the turtle pond, and they're like, "Hey, there's nothing here but these turtles." And Sam the lion talks about the passing of time and what he would have did if he could go back in time with the girl. And he goes, "It's fucking awesome." Yeah, I've watched that monologue probably like 100 times.
Wow. Yeah, it's a great scene. Yeah. And they called it a tank, not a pond, right? Was it a tank?
Yeah, it's like there's nothing but turtles in this tank.
Yeah. I was like,
there ain't nothing but turtles in this tank. I used to come out here. Oh, and
that's great.
That's really like where I think like a lot of these older movies, and even your movie, Jonathan, The Last Deal has. What makes a lot of these films great is that you could like turn the sound off on them and understand like how this movie is going. Obviously dialogue is necessary sometimes, and I love the music in your film, but I could probably watch the movie on silent and understand where this character is going and where he's been.
Yeah.
So beautifully said.
Yeah. So brilliant job, man. And I just want to thank you guys again for joining me today. This has been, really, it's been educational. It's been entertaining for me to sit down and talk with you guys and get to know your film a little bit more, Jonathan, get to know you, Anthony. I wish you guys all the best of luck in the future. Guys, make sure you guys check out Jonathan and Anthony's film, The Last Deal. It is available to stream on Amazon and I believe Apple TV. It is great. I've watched it 3 times now. We'll have to finish the 3rd viewing. But one question I wanted to ask you, Jonathan, is your movie Annie Up, is it available digital anywhere?
It's available for a screening at my house once every 10 years.
Let me know when I can come over and watch, because I watched the trailer to it and I was dying. I was like, why can't I watch this right now? This is great.
Yeah, no, it never got, I was so young when I made that. I never got distribution on it. I should probably put it out there, but it just, it's kind of I hate to call it a souvenir, but it's, yeah.
Well, I hope we can see it one day. The trailer made it look really cool, something I was really interested in. Just again, it shows your range as a director, as I said in my original introduction. Like I would love to see it someday. Hopefully, you can get some distribution on it and people can see it. But is there anything that you guys want to plug while you're here? Things that you're working on, or places that people can find you? Go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'd say please check out The Last Deal. It's on Amazon, Apple, like you said, Vudu, Google, YouTube. Please go check. There's the website, www.thelastdealmovie.com. We have the Instagram, which is very active. I think it's Last Deal Movie. Please hope they can check it out.
Yes, and I have all his links too in the description too, so you guys can check that out there. Anthony, I saw that you're not really on. You have an Instagram page, but you're not like on Twitter or anything. What do you? Is there anything that you can share that you're working on, or places that people can find you?
No, I don't really. I'm not really findable. I kind of don't know where I'm going to later today. I don't know where. But yeah, as far as like checking things out, no, I guess just check yourself out, I guess. I don't really have much update. I mean, I'm working, it's fun, but yeah, just check out yourself, make sure you're in doing what you're doing and what you want to do. And if you're not, what can you do today to start creating that?
Anthony's kind of like Marcello Mastroianni in La Dolce Vita. He's just going through life and amazing things just coming through.
That's great. Well,
hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah.
What us nerds like to say is go out and touch grass. That's what we tell each other.
It's grass. I don't know. But.
Hey, both. Right? You do both. Put your feet in the grass and have the sun touching your face. Yeah.
Right. Get them all. Thank you guys again so much for your time. I hope you guys have an awesome day. I hope we get to talk in the future. You guys have been awesome. If you're ever out in Utah, we're at Sundance, shoot me a message, shoot me an email or whatever. We'd love to hang out with you guys and talk with you more. For the chat, thank you guys so much. We'll roll the credits and let these guys head out. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.